Hello, my name is Julie Ann. I am the founder of Influence Publishing and the author of Around the World in 7 Years, A Life-Changing Journey. And so what was this life-changing journey that I had that led me to become a book publisher and a TED speaker? Now, I think maybe there's some people that are listening to this that feel like they don't fit into the world somehow, like there's something strange about them, or they're just not the same as other people, and a kind of feeling deep inside that something's not quite right, like this is not their life, or they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And generally kind of not feeling deep inside that this is the life that they should be living. Now, this is what happened to me at the age of 32. I was living in the UK, and I had a really good job. I was in marketing. I traveled around the world first class to China and the Philippines. I was married. I had a very charmed life, I guess you could say. I had a lot of money, lived in a beautiful home, but I didn't feel happy. And so kind of one day it felt like it was extraordinary in that it happened very suddenly. I decided this is not my life. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm 32 and I almost feel like my life is over because I've achieved everything I was supposed to achieve. So I decided to sell everything, leave my husband, leave my job, and leave the UK, leave England. I had a friend who was a sailor, and he had suggested that we go sailing around the world, which, you know, was pretty extraordinary given that I've never actually sailed before. But I thought deep inside, that was kind of the adventure or something outside the box that I wanted to try, that I wanted to do. And so I said yes. I took a risk. I stepped out of my comfort zone and decided to take the risk of leaving the country, leaving my husband, leaving security to take on an adventure. Now, once I got to South Africa, we purchased a sailboat, and we then got the boat ready for sailing. And in 4 years, we went from Africa to Madagascar, back to East Africa, Tanzania, Zanzibar, Kenya, Mombasa, Dar es Salaam, and then we crossed the Indian Ocean. We lived on a desert island for 3 months, and then we crossed to Thailand, and we lived in Thailand, between Thailand and Malaysia for 2 years. We made money by taking guests on our boat, backpackers, to show them that kind of lifestyle. But we didn't really need a lot of money. We were not traveling, we were not tourists. We had adapted a brand new lifestyle. Now, after 4 years, that relationship ended. It was really a relationship of convenience. And I decided to go traveling by myself, still trying to find myself. I traveled alone through Thailand, all inland as far as Chiang Rai and Chiang Mai. I crossed over into Laos, went the full length of Laos on the river Mekong, back to down to Cambodia, and then back to Thailand. And in Bangkok, I sat in a hotel for a couple of weeks, drowning my sorrows in a bottle of Thai whiskey and trying to decide, where do I fit in the world? What's wrong with me? You know, I don't know what my country is. I don't know what I should be doing. I don't know what job I should be doing, how I should be making money. I don't know where my community is. I just felt like I didn't belong anywhere. And I know there's a lot of people that have that same feeling. And I might be talking to some of you right now, that feeling of not belonging anywhere. So I decided I might as well just continue. And I'd never been to Canada. I had connected with some travelers who were Canadian, and I liked the sound of Vancouver. And so I connected with some people via a traveling website, and secured a boat that I could stay on Vancouver Island. And I ended up in Vancouver. Now, I do want to just say here that part of what I'm going to be teaching you is understanding how important it is to trust your intuition and that gut feeling. Because if you always do that, you will end up in the right place. And sometimes it might seem very strange, and you might say, why am I doing this? You know, I remember sitting on a plane to Vancouver thinking, I have no money. I have no friends. I have no family. All my family are in England, and I was totally disconnected from them. I have no job. I have no way of making money. I have no investments. I signed over my house in the UK. And yet here I am sitting on a plane to Canada, and I've got a smile on my face just because I knew it was the right thing to do. Now, when I got to Vancouver Island, everybody treated me wonderfully. I ended up meeting Greg, who actually is now my ex-husband, but I had many years with him. I got on his boat, and we continued traveling and sailing by going down the Pacific coast and living in the Sea of Cortez in Mexico for 2 years. And so my journey, my 7-year journey around the world, was most definitely unconventional. And I would say that whole time, I probably still felt like I didn't quite fit in anywhere. And I think I was looking for the geographical cure by moving all the time, which I think a lot of people do. But I decided that this was better than anything I'd had so far. And so decided to settle down in Canada, get married to Greg, and start my new life there. I was being encouraged by many people to write a book about my 7-year journey around the world, more than anything because people were super curious. How do you do that? How do you basically leave everything behind that you know, step out of your comfort zone, take all these amazing risks, travel with like no insurance, very little money, you know, adapting to a very different lifestyle, really a very nomadic lifestyle, which means that you don't need much money to live that kind of nomadic lifestyle. And being on a sailboat meant that we didn't have, you know, travel expenses. So how do you do that? Like, how do you have the courage to do that? And I think, you know, writing the book actually helped me understand that journey. And that's why I call it a life-changing journey. Because I think that unless you actually take the time to reflect on your life, reflect what you have done, reflect what your gifts are, and reflect on what have you learned during this process, there's no way that you can actually start to think about what does my dream life look like? What is my purpose? What makes me happy? So writing the book actually unlocked my story. I had to examine what I'd been doing in the last 7 years and what I learned from all the different cultures that I visited, and what I felt, what knowledge I gained from different cultures. And where did that leave me now? You know, now that I was in a position where I had all these experiences, what makes me happy? You know, what, it wasn't just traveling all the time that made me happy. I needed a bigger purpose. And so the book actually helped me to unlock my story, to unlock what it is that made me happy, to unlock what my gift was. When you take the time to actually reflect on your story, which we don't do that very often, only then do you get to realize that there are certain things, feedback from people, for example. People might say, wow, you're so good at that. Or, wow, I love it. I love the way you listen. Or, wow, that's incredible, that the way that you express yourself. These might be things that you never even knew that you had as a gift before. Anyway, the writing of the book, Around the World in 7 Years, A Life-Changing Journey, led me to then start helping other people to write their story. And eventually it led me to starting my publishing company called Influence Publishing. Now, the word influence has so many different meanings, but in this context, I was thinking more in terms of influencing the way that we see our life and influencing the way other people see their lives by sharing stories. Now, the publishing company was started almost 11 years ago now, and I have now published over 300 authors. I've made many of them very successful and bestsellers. And I feel like I really found my calling in life. And then something happened to me that really made me question what I was doing. I discovered I was dyslexic. Now, I am a book publisher, and I was working with an author who was writing a book about dyslexia, and she made the observation that the way that my brain worked was a dyslexic brain. And I remember very clearly saying to her, Sue, that is not going to be good for business. that I'm a dyslexic book publisher. But as it was, I took a risk, and I actually decided to tell the world that I was probably the world's only dyslexic book publisher. And I stood on the stage and I did a TED talk on the topic of dyslexia. What I discovered was it was actually dyslexia and the gift of dyslexia that was allowing me to use my big creative problem-solving right brain to help people unlock their story and present it in a book format. And so I realized at that point that, you know, there are many things that stop people from living their dream or finding their purpose or stepping into their gifts because of these preconceived ideas and judgment over labels. Now, that for me, that was dyslexia, and I was very frightened that people would judge me and stop doing business with me because of it. But for other people, and for you, it might be autism. It might be just that you're very sensitive and an empath, and you are affected by other people's feelings. It might be that you are ADHD. It might be that you're on the autism spectrum, and you know, you might not have even been diagnosed, and that's the point. The same with me. I didn't find out I was dyslexic until I was 50 years old and already had a career with what you would think a dyslexic person wouldn't be doing, which was being a book publisher and helping people unlock their story. Now, after I did the TED Talk, which has now had 100,000 hits, I discovered that being vulnerable and actually telling people about my label actually helped me get more business. And so really my message for everybody today here is, if you have a label that's stopping you from living your dream life, if you have something and you just don't understand what it is, but you just don't fit in, you don't feel like you're the same as other people, like you're not normal, maybe you're an empath, or if you've suffered a great loss, and this is what I will leave you with. I have no regrets in my life. I am a very happy person. I know I'm living my purpose. I know I'm living my dream. I now live in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and I live in a beautiful home with an ocean view, and I'm able to do my work remotely. I found my soulmate here in Mexico, and I had an amazing life with him. Unfortunately, he recently passed. And how did I cope with a huge loss like that when I've been creating this dream life, which includes the love of my life, when you lose somebody like that? This is really part of my story. You can either go into the corner and you can say, I have no home, I have no friends, I have no family, I'm lost, I don't know what my country is, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. You can live the dream life and find your purpose. And then in one fell swoop, it can all be taken away from you, as it was when I lost my fiance and the love of my life, my soulmate. But you've got a choice. You have a choice. You can cry in that corner and say, why me? Or you can pick yourself up and you can start again. And you can unlock your story and discover what your dream life is and what your purpose in life is. And that's what I'm here to help you do. Have a wonderful, happy, joyful life. See you soon.